Hello, dear listener, and welcome to ThriveCast, unlocking your full potential. Your well-being is our priority, and we're here to provide you with practical, heartfelt advice on living your best life. Together, we'll explore identity, purpose, prosperity mindset, authenticity, and so much more. So grab your headphones and get ready. Your journey starts now.
So welcome everybody to Oscar and to Katarina. So what have we got in store for you this week is the theme from shame to fame. It's a very subtle, but very powerful emotion. So I'm Katarina Hanssens Carlsson, CEO of Destiny International 11, and I'm about thriving. And you can contact me on LinkedIn. I do your entrepreneurial blueprint, your thriving blueprint. And Oscar, would you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. I'm Oscar Nygren. I'm an emotional fitness coach. I run the website realitydecoding.com. I also have a YouTube channel named Oscar Nygren and a Facebook group called Live Your Purpose on Facebook. And you can find me there, and I do all types of trauma regressions and taking care of healing the past so you can thrive in the present.
Beautiful. Thank you. So our theme is from shame to fame. And it's not about, oh, I want to be famous overnight, make lots of money, and I'm going to be a celebrity. It's not about that. It's about shining your brilliance. And it's about thriving. And it's about sharing and serving the world with who you truly are. So you're either ashamed of yourself or you're sharing your brilliance with others. So what is a global belief system? What are we feeling when there's war? Are we feeling shame? Most of us are. Whatever happens in life, whatever happens in the world, affects us because we're all one. When we're all one, actually the shame starts to go. But we're all affected by everything that happens in the world. So, Oscar, over to you about global belief systems.
Oh, global belief systems. Okay. Yeah, I mean, shame and war, right? So war, we usually say that that's a collective phenomenon, but it actually has to do with the war inside of us. And there's always a sense of, whenever we turn ourselves and we come into comparison against another person, it's almost like a war. There's a conflict, right? I like the word conflict for people to actually look at that, right? Because it says con. Everything that says con, it means that it's a deception, right? There's a deceptive flict, right? It's a reflection. So it's a deceptive reflection. Conflict is a deceptive reflection, right? Which means that it's not really true, but your belief in the truth of it makes it so. Now, even if it's a conflict, when you move and you compare yourself to another person and you're saying, why did that do that? Or it's like, I'm angry at that. I'm gonna, in worst case scenario, kill them or whatever, right? there's always a sense that you're deceiving yourself, and that deception in itself, right? That we're moving away from the truth of the love in our being, right? That moving away from that truth, that makes us feel shame, right? Because we are essentially knowing that we're not really true to ourselves every time when we're looking upon someone else and we're despising them, right? In war, we are moving huge amounts of thought power because there's a lot of people in this war. But all those people, all of them knows in their core that somehow they're in a deception. There's a deception, and I'm choosing to believe it, and therefore I feel a little bit ashamed that I'm letting my spirit go to this degree of manslaughter, essentially, in order to perpetuate something that won't even actually help me in the long run anyway. So that's my understanding when it actually comes to war and shame, because the shame in itself is like that we're somewhat sensing that we're doing something wrong, but we cannot put a finger on it.
Exactly. Yeah. We can't put a finger on it, and we don't want to put a finger on it. But actually, it's very empowering to admit our shame. So where does our shame come from? For me, it comes from the inner saboteur. So if you put your hand to the back of your neck, you are actually in contact with your reptilian brain, which is supposed to keep us safe, but it also keeps us small and in shame. So it doesn't allow us to be brilliant. It doesn't allow us to really excel. And if you look at our school system, for example, we have been dumbed down, according to Dr. George Land. We started school at 98% brilliance, and by the time we're teenagers, it's 12%. So our creativity is not nurtured, okay? So the inner saboteur works against us, not for us. And we need to be very, very aware of what we're actually feeling. When we feel our shame and admit our shame, it starts to disperse, especially if we share it with someone else. So we have a law here in Scandinavia called jantelag. And when I first heard that, I was quite shocked. But actually, it's universal. Not everybody calls it jantelag, but it's a law that says you're no better than anybody else. And that's actually correct. We're no better than anybody else. However, we're as good and as divine as everybody else, and we're all unique. That's what we need to remember. But we're putting it in a classroom of 30 children, and nobody gets the attention except the top of the class, the bottom of the class, and the ones who play up. Okay, they get the attention. Everybody else is just average. And that's what we're programmed to be, kind of average. However, my understanding of jantelag is very, very different. Jante lived at the time of Hitler. And Hitler said, the Germans are unique. You know, we are the elite of the German Empire, because we're going to have an empire. They had just lost the First World War, and people were in shame because they lost. So he used that to say, no, you're better than everybody else, and you're certainly better than Jews, and we're going to exterminate the Jews. So my interpretation of jantelag is we are all equal. We are all one. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. We are all unique, but we're not better than each other, that we should work together to express our brilliance and to serve the world. That's my interpretation. So what's yours, Oscar?
Wow, that's a long one. Okay, so first, what I wanted to talk about that you said in this, what do you call this doctor that's at the school?
Dr. George Land.
Yeah, exactly. And George Land, and what you said there was it is about creative brilliance, right? So they go from 99 to 12% creative brilliance. Now, what does that mean? Well, also for me, I'm going to go back to what you talked about, jantelag and war, but when you come to that place of, this creative brilliance, what does that mean? Because people have a tendency to say it's like, oh, it's IQ or it's EQ or it is, we put a label on it. But creative brilliance actually means that the uniqueness of an individual, that we can sustain that someone are allowed to flourish in the way they are. In a school system, we have a tendency to form people into a certain type of form where they should if they should fit. And if they don't fit, we give ourselves the permission to grade them and saying, you amount to this type of worth. And that grade system then allows them people for it's like, oh, here's you can do this now because you have this grade, right? So a person automatically forgets about the uniqueness of what they were given, and they give themselves the idea of, oh, well, this is what the school says, this is what I'm worth, this is what my creative brilliance amounts to. And that is the problem, right? So because then we shut off the capability of someone to actually come with an out-of-box thinking, because we always put people into a box. So that was the first thing that I wanted to say, for people to understand that we should celebrate uniqueness. Oh my God, I'm loving this. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, and the second one about jantelagen, yeah, that's absolutely beautiful, right? And I think that the problem is that when we're saying it's like, oh, jantelagen, we don't like it, it's something bad, it's awful, right? So it's almost we're pushing it away. It's like we don't want to look at it. We put it underneath the rug. It's almost like we're adding a shame layer to jantelagen, even more than jantelagen ever was, because we don't want to look at it, because for most people, right, that sense is like, I don't want to be small, so we push the jantelagen away. But what it actually is about is what you're saying, is that we are all created equal, and no, we shouldn't go out and slaughter Jews because we feel that we're so fantastic. Yeah. I have to stop doing it. But yeah, it's like understanding the equality, understanding the uniqueness, and it is not possible for us to compare ourselves to one another. Some people are extremely good at talking in front of people. Others are incredible inventors, right? And it is together when we're finding these places where we all fit in, that's when we're thriving, right? As a humanity, we're supposed to thrive on our uniqueness, on our capability of finding the right person for the right thing at the right time, doing what it loves, right? That is what this is all about, because the moment that we're saying it's like, oh, we're gonna try to make the school system in this way so the companies can get more profit, right? So what? So we can ruin the world even more, right? Or whatever. it's like we have to rethink and start looking from what is human value, right? The value will always be human beings. If there are no human beings there, you cannot do anything, right? It doesn't matter any resources you're having, right? So for really making people free in their mind, in their capability, and most of it free from their shame, right? And that is what we're about, and that's what we're trying to do here, making people understand that, first of all, it is okay to be you, 100% you, and that whatever someone has told about you and whatever you measured yourself up to, look at it. Look at the stories that people have said or you have said to yourself about you in comparison to whatever society is saying that you should or you shouldn't be. Over to you, Katarina.
I love it. I totally love it. And I just got an idea just now. Our schools have often, not always, but often used shame to actually control us. I actually worked in a school in London, and if the children were more than like a 1 minute to 5 minutes late, which it can happen, they were told to stand in the corridor with their face to the wall and feel shame. So they were actually teaching shame. So I didn't last very long in that system because I don't believe in that. And also, if you look at the whole idea of the commandments and sin, how has religion kept us in shame as well? So how do we release ourselves from that? Number one, to know your authentic self. You are a divine being. Now, you don't have to believe in God. You're divine anyway. God believes in you anyway. Number one, no more self-judgment and no more judging of others. And that sounds easy, but it's actually very, very difficult to stop judging because we have been judged. So then we judge others. But if you just observe your self-judgments, you observe your judgments of others, and you actually, in the moment of judging yourself, you release it and just say, no, I'm doing the very best I can. I can do better and I will do better. But right now, I'm fine. I'm fine. And everybody I see and everybody I judge, I release those judgments. So start with that. Realize your divine identity and start to think, what is your brilliance? What is your unique brilliance? So over to you, Oscar. What do you say? How do you release shame?
Well, shame thrives when it is hidden. So communicating shame is one of the secrets in order to release shame. We talked about it a little bit in our previous session or in our previous podcast. But yeah, communicating it, saying that this is what I'm ashamed of. Also, if you're afraid of saying it to someone else, you writing it down. That's one thing, right? The other thing is a little bit, I would say, esoteric, but it has a power to it. So especially if you are someone who feels that, you know, you have divine powers with you, around you, inside of you, and so forth, because it has a tendency there. So one thing I always say, can I let this go, right? It's almost like you're giving over it to something to take care of it, right? You do no longer need to carry it if you're asking just permission, because you're always allowed for letting it go. And you can feel it stronger or lesser, right? You can just breathe in and ask, can I let this go? And feel inside of you if it's a yes and no. That's one way. The other way, which I've started using very recently, since I'm starting to develop a very profound relationship to my to God or to my inner being and so forth, is that I'm like saying, oh, here's this sabotaging thought again, God. Here, take it. I no longer need it. You're allowed to take it, right? And it's like it's almost like I'm throwing it out of me and saying, it's like, this is no longer part of me. This is no longer needed to be here inside of me. Take it. And because as you're saying, we're all pure, we're all divine beings, and God, or whomever people believe in, right, they are all there for the goodness of mankind, and they are there to take care of whatever burdens we're carrying ourselves. It's not for us to carry. So that's one way of letting go of all the shame that you're having as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Oscar. Yeah. So from shame to fame, what is fame? For me, it's acknowledging who you are, acknowledging your brilliance, and having the humility to serve other people, to serve the world with your brilliance. So, who are we? How can you contact us? I'm Katarina Hanssens Carlsson, and you can contact me on Carlsson, Catherine with a K, Carlsson with a C, on LinkedIn. Katarina Hanssens Carlsson, Catherine Carlsson on LinkedIn. And Oscar, how do people reach you?
Yeah, you can reach me easiest from my website, realitydecoding.com. And there you can just sign up for a quick 30-minute conversation where we understand where you are and where you want to go and how we quickest will get there, so you can get on your way of thriving in your everyday life. That's through realitydecoding.com. And then you can just watch my YouTube channel, Oscar Nygren, and you can get in contact with me through my Facebook group, Live Your Purpose.
Thank you so much, Oscar. Thank you, everyone, for viewing and for listening. And we will see you next week.
Yes, see you. Take care.